everybody, welcome to our recording on how to read and interpret your P&L report. This is the report that every doctor looks forward to getting every single month. This shows you the overall financial well-being of your practice and also gives you the opportunity to see a level of detail associated with your financials. A couple of things I want to bring your attention to when you log into Pronto. You're going to select the P&L report feature from your navigational bar. You'll need to select your group name along with the year that you want to look at and the month or months that you want to be able to view. Now, for purposes of today's exercise, I'm going to stick with Lucky Practice 13, and we'll review some of the detail associated with their performance. On the left-hand side, there are a number of line items. These line items represent our chart of accounts, which include all the general ledger categories that are associated with these expenses. And this is really important that the coding be done at the practice level correctly, because all those expenses get booked underneath each one of these line items. Under line items, we see revenue. We see things like doctor comp, staff bonus, doctor benefits, office occupancy, advertising and marketing, dental supplies. These are all the categories of expenses that are associated with running your business. And then across the top, in this darker blue bar, you see actual. These are the results for that month versus what we budgeted for. And what we budgeted for was directly coming from the resource budget that we created previously. And then there's a variance. This is the difference, plus or minus, between how you performed against your budget. You're also going to be able to see your year-to-date actual results versus year-to-date budget. So in Demo Practice 13, for example, they produced $285,344 in revenue, and they were budgeted to produce $378,861, which resulted in a variance of $93,517. If we look down at doctor compensation, they paid out $82,606 in doctor comp, which represents 29% of that $285,344. What we budgeted for was for them to produce $378,861, and they paid out $98,932 in doctor compensation, which represented 26% of that budget, which is more in line with industry standard. So there was a variance in this category of over $16,000. You can scroll down and you can take a look at some other categories. I like to take a look at advertising and marketing, for example. Advertising and marketing for this practice was budgeted at $3,500, which was about 1% of the budgeted revenue. They spent a little more than that. They spent $4,235, which represented still 1% of a much lower number in revenue. But let's take a look and see what's being allocated to advertising and marketing. So I click in, and I can see all of these different classes that are associated with that general ledger category. So they spent money on email marketing, on internet pay-per-click, on website development or maintenance. So these are all the categories associated with that expense. What I love about this feature is that doctor owners sometimes will tell us they had no idea they were paying for specific services. And this is a great way for you to be able to see exactly what that was. And in many cases, under the subclass category, you can click in and you can see an invoice. Particular internet pay-per-click was paid out to a vendor called patient news. So you can actually see where the vendors are. As we go further down, you'll see another category called dental supplies. This is usually one of your bigger expenses next to employment expense. So this is important to take a look at as well. If you look at the actual expense here, it was $38,823, which represented 14% of their revenue. We budgeted for much less than that, at less than 19,000, which would have fallen in line with industry standard of 5%. So this is another area where you'd want to drill in and you want to take a look at what did we do? What did we spend our money on? Why is it so high? And what can we do about it? This is a perfect opportunity for you to do some problem resolution, root cause analysis with your Pronto Pro advisor to figure out how you can get more in line with industry standard. At the bottom of the P&L report, you're going to see an acronym, this acronym being EBITDA. EBITDA is a financial acronym used to describe earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. And basically what that is it's a dollar amount. And it's a dollar amount that gets added back into your net revenue so that you can determine your net operating expense. What we want to be able to see is each of the practices achieving at least a 20% EBITDA. And if you're falling below that, or if you're in the negative, that means that you really need to take a hard look at your expenses versus your revenue and what you're going to do about that. So this is an exercise that we go through with our clients every single month. Great opportunity to learn, to come up with some initiatives to be able to correct areas where you might be off track. And we're happy to give you as much support as is needed to move your practice in the right direction. Thanks for checking in today, and we look forward to working with you to improve practice performance.